What's up guys, Mason here. We're out here in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. And in this video, we're gonna go over my signature 3-3-3 method. We're gonna go over three things. One is the mental model that will help you dominate your sales. Two is the principles so that you know exactly what to do. And three is the skills so that you stand out from all those average other closers. I've personally closed over $7 million online of high ticket sales. And this mental model, these principles, these skills are what took me from being at the bottom of the leaderboard to absolutely dominating. So enjoy the talk and let's crush it. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Awesome, guys. Well, let's give a round of applause to Lead Gen Jay for bringing all the Claude knowledge. And we'll give a round of applause to Andrew as well for bringing all of you guys together in this room in Cabo. So shout out to Andrew. And also kudos to all of you guys for being here, right? Every time I get to speak here, it just reminds me the fact that you're here means that you guys are all action takers. It means that you guys all have huge hearts if you were attracted into Andrew's tribe, and that you guys are going to create an absolutely abundant year ahead. So what we're going to go over today is the reverse selling method, and this is how I personally closed $7 million online in high-ticket coaching services without ever feeling like a salesperson, without ever feeling pushy, awkward, slimy, none of that. And this is the kind of the what if. Like, what if you could effortlessly enroll your prospects into high-ticket offers? What if you could increase your close rates and let your prospects do the heavy lifting rather than you being able to pitch them or convince them? What if you guys could create consistent month-over-month growth in your sales teams and start having your prospects, like I said, sell themselves? That's what we're here to do today. And that comes down to there's the old paradigm and the new paradigm. Most people I talk to are selling like this, and whenever I come into sales teams, like right now I'm working with Lead Gen Jay as a sales director for that cold email product that you guys just saw, and I'm also consulting for his other company, Otter PR. And every single time I come into a company, they're always in the old paradigm of sales. It's like without a shadow of a doubt. And this is what they do, is they try to make friends and build rapport. Who's been told that they should build rapport? Say aye. Aye. I want to get some just quick check-in. What does rapport mean to you guys? What does rapport mean to you? Comfortable, that's one. Connection. Common ground, yeah. Common ground. Connection. Trust. A lot of people like define it as having just like surface level commonalities. I've always looked at it as responsiveness. So if someone is actually responsive to my lead, kind of like in dance, if there's connection and response, then I feel like we're actually in rapport. So it's less about do they like me, but it's more like can they actually follow my lead. Now the old paradigm, people don't follow your lead and they won't actually be in rapport and connection with you because you're assumptive, you pitch and convince. I know you guys have heard ABC. Who knows what ABC stands for? Yeah. And the good old Jordan Belfort, enthusiasm. You need to be enthusiastic as hell, sharp as a tack. Anyone heard that? Say aye. Aye. Yep. I let it all out. I don't do any of that. I do the exact opposite. So for me, the new paradigm is what I call the doctor frame or the problem finder frame, meaning I am there to see what is the problem, can I help, just like a doctor would. And instead of being assumptive, I'm curious. Instead of pitching and convincing, it's questions and dialogue. And instead of ABC, it's ABL, which is always be leading. It's always be leading. And I dropped the enthusiasm and I replaced it with resolve. And once I stepped into that, what I saw, not only for me, but for my teams, that their close rates went up, their burnout went down, and essentially their revenue per call doubled or tripled. And we did that with Jay as well. So let me pop this back on. Could you help me with the charger cord real quick? I think there's one around here. Thank you, thank you. This is exactly it. Thank you, sir. So we're going to boil this down to what I call the core three today, and this is what we're going to get you guys in the next, how much time do we have? 30 minutes or so? The most successful sales reps I've seen, they come down to three things. So I've taken 4,000 sales calls, closed 7 million in high-ticket coaching products and services at this point. The best closers, it's not so much about their script or what they say. They understand a few core things, which is the mental models, the principles, and the skills. So today we're going to go over one mental model, 3 principles, and 3 skills that'll help you guys close effortlessly. Does that sound good? Say aye. Aye. Cool, let's make some money. Now, this is where I started. This is where all this came from. I never actually expected to be in sales. That was never my journey. I was a engineer, a mechanical engineer, and I actually went into biomedical device engineering out of all the things. I wanted to help, I wanted to contribute and be in that world. That's in a cadaver lab back in 2019 working for NuVasive. I was designing titanium implants for spine surgery to get rid of nerve pain in the body. And the most ironic thing happened, which is that I manifested nerve pain in my body. I'm in that office all day, every day, and I remember just looking around this cubicle, looking around the office, being like, no, this can't be my life. And I started feeling twitches and muscle spasms in my arm, in my body, and literally everything fell apart. I tried to push through it. I tried to work through that job, and that was really when I started to get into the coaching space. Has anyone heard of ALA before? Ascension Leadership Academy? Kind of culty, but kind of cool at the same time. I joined that, and I made a declaration that I was gonna quit this job in 90 days. That was a Sunday night. Monday morning, they fired me. So I got the Slack message, and they literally escorted me out of the building. And in that moment, I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I set an intention to double my income, to move out to Costa Rica, to live out of a van, and to have this like whole new lifestyle. That was like my North Star at that point. So you know how Andrew talked about earlier, writing down the vision? I have that piece of paper as well for myself. I didn't take a photo of it, but it definitely brought me back to my heart in terms of that was my start into entrepreneurship. It's like, I don't know where I'm going or how I'm getting there, but what came forth was sales, because I realized if I could learn sales, I could pretty much do anything I want. And this is the journey. So 2020 was total side hustle mode. The first year, I didn't make anything in commissions. The most I made was like $500 in a month. I was selling like protein shakes. Anyone get enrolled to an MLM before? Just me? Yeah, I fell for that. And the good news of that was it taught me resilience, it taught me discipline, and it taught me how to just face rejection and lean into discomfort. I didn't make any money, but I got the foundations of what it was required for entrepreneurship. And I was dead broke in 2020, which is vulnerable for me to say, but at that point, like there was a moment, and I wrote about this in my school, where I had like $800 in my bank account, and I was like, clearly what I'm doing is not working. And at that point, they were paying unemployment pay. Does anyone remember that crazy unemployment pay that they had during COVID? Anyone know? Probably weren't in that phase of your life, but I got back paid 17 grand. And at that time in my life, that was life-changing because I was broke. So I took that, I went out, invested in my first coach in San Diego, and then I got a role with Jeff Miller, AskFam. Who's worked with Jeff in the room? You worked with Jeff. Okay. So he was the first closing role I had, and in that first month exceeded my corporate income and realized like, hey, this is a real thing, and went all in on high ticket sales. Within 5 months of being in high ticket sales, I didn't know when that intention of going to Costa Rica would happen, but it happened collapse time right away. I joined a company called Thought Leader with Taylor Conroy. He's still running an offer. They're doing $2 million a month. When I joined, he was at like 180, and I basically was on his team from $200K a month to $1 million a month as his top closer for 2 years. Now, why do I share that story? Is because I set that clear intention, and within 6 months, it all came to reality. I had tripled my income from corporate. I had moved out to Costa Rica, and I had gotten in the van and done all those things. So like, guys, friendly reminder that when we put pen to paper, we can actually manifest that, call that in very, very quickly. And that was the moment when I got out there and called that intention into reality. And one of the beliefs that I hold around sales is that like, life is essentially an enrollment game, and when you can enroll yourself in your vision and enroll others in it, then you can create literally anything that you want. Beyond that, it went into Masters of Fate, closed basically 5-6 mil with Jeremy Miner, Sarah Turner, and Andrew, and then now I'm working with Jay. The cool thing about what I'm gonna teach you is that it didn't just help me, it helped my best friend, and it's helped dozens of other people. This gentleman right here is my best friend. His name's Andres Mago, and when I got him into sales, let me show you what his bank account looked like, because he sent me this. On the left-hand side, this was back in 2020. We were both going through that ALA program. This is $21.10. He was living in that van, and I was like, bro, I'm in high-ticket sales. Things are going good. Like, you need to step it the fuck up. Like, you're tolerating a low standard in your life, and this is your choice. And we had like a really heart-to-heart conversation. This was 6 months later. I got him a role, got him going, and he was doing $20,000 to $25,000 a month, and now he's doing $50,000 a month running his own sales community. So the cool thing about this is it's like once we have this skill, we give it to our team, give it to our friends, and people can go out there and make magic. So the first gift I'm going to give to you guys, you'll get free access to my RSS community. I am about to monetize that, but I'm going to give it to all you guys for free. And if you have any teams, sales reps, that's my sales call recording, sales call training, sales calls breakdowns, and I do a live call there every week that you guys can get for free. So that's my gift to you. Who's seen this? I got good news and bad news. What do you guys want first? Bad news? Well, I'll give you the good news. The good news, I'm not going to make you sell the pen. Bad news is I am going to ask you to sell yourself a little bit. So who in here is convicted in their offer? You guys don't believe in what you sell? Okay. Who here feels like they're good at sales? Sweet. So what do you sell, just for the room?
So essentially, I sell marketing systems for clinic owners.
Yeah, cool. And like, let's say I'm an owner. Why should I go with you?
Because I'm one of the few people in the marketing space that also understands the needs and desires of a clinician because I've been through that experience.
Nice. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing. Lindsay, what do you sell?
One thing is salsa, bachata, and body retreats.
And what?
And body retreats.
Oh.
Salsa, bachata, transformation.
Okay, and why should I go to your retreat?
It'll change your life.
Hell yeah. Let's get one more. Who else is convicted in what they sell? Who believes in what they sell? Let's go, Thomas.
I sell personal branding, so Twitter and LinkedIn content.
Yeah. And why, like, let's say I want to, like, why should I go with you?
We run the biggest accounts in the personal branding space, and we understand the first principles of content better than everyone else.
Cool. Sweet. Thank you guys for sharing. Now, that was kind of a trick question, and I wanted to like illustrate a point here of why I did that. Do you guys see what happened there? Did anyone notice, or is it kind of still kind of top secret? I'm curious if anyone noticed what might have just happened there.
Told you. We got them to sell ourselves versus ask you questions.
Partly, yeah. It's the one, so the first principle we're going to teach, and we'll come to it right here, is the one asking questions is the one in control. And so if you want to sell yourself, you never want to be pitching it, you want to be asking questions and being in control, right? So if anyone asks you why they should go with you, we can always just flip it, and we'll get into that in a second, about how we can actually take back control. And be like, well, maybe you could, maybe you couldn't, but like, let me ask, what do you do in your practice, and how are you getting leads now? So I've never actually answered questions, I've always deflected and redirected every single time, because Hormozi talks about the second we say it, they're the judge, jury, and executioner of what we say, and no matter how good and eloquent, it was eloquent, we're always going to judge it through our filters and perceptions. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Cool, you're with me? Yeah. Now, the first mental model, before we get to those principles, this was a breakthrough for me, and with the Otter team right now, this has been a huge breakthrough for them actually as well, which is whenever I ask a rep what they do, they're like, oh, I'm supposed to solve problems. And then I go, okay, what's a problem? So I'll ask you guys, what's the definition of a problem? Before you see this, like, what's your definition of a problem?
Having difficulty to achieve a goal.
It's like a roadblock? Nice. What's your definition of a problem?
An issue that prevents you from achieving the goal that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, like a roadblock. Andy?
Something causing pain.
Something causing pain? Nice. Mark?
No clear resolution in sight.
Okay.
Just something that needs to be solved.
Something that needs to be solved. Once this definition hit for me, everything clicked on sales calls and I knew what to listen for. And we're going to talk about active listening, but if you don't have the definition of a problem, it's hard to know what to listen for. And we're all there to solve problems as salespeople, but most people can't answer this question in a way that's an effective mental model. All those are correct that you guys gave, and I found this mental model to be the quickest, most precise way to hear a problem and then know where to probe and clarify. So here's the definition. Sales is all about solving problems, right? So a problem, and you guys might want to write this down for you and for your teams if you want to close more sales, is an area of dissatisfaction or something that is not up to standard. So an area of dissatisfaction or an area that is not up to standard. So like a lot of what you guys described was the roadblock, which is the actual blocker, but the problem is more emotional than that. It's the area of dissatisfaction or the area that's not up to standard. I'm looking for the emotional problem. The roadblock is the logical problem, but I'm looking for the emotional dissatisfaction. Does that make sense, guys? Now, to get a little nuance with this, that could be in a couple areas, right? So in terms of a problem, that could be in their business, their health, wealth, status, reach, significance. And I boiled it down to 3 categories for what is a problem. They're either 1, not where they want to be. This works really well. Who sells like to maybe like B2C, like I don't want to say low sophistication people, but maybe people who are a little like lower on the EQ market? Who sells to that kind of market, B2C? Anyone? That's where usually they are is number 1. But the second someone's above like the self-actualization of just survival, this is usually where it shifts into their problem. And why sales goes wrong is because people are trying to convince people that they're not where they want to be. They're actually where they desired to be. Just like me, I manifested my vision, but now it's about getting to where I want to be next at a faster rate. It's about speed. So when I try to find problem for successful people, like if I were to get on a sales call with you, if I ask you, are you happy with where you're at? You're probably going to say, yeah, because you got a great life, bro. But if I say, do you feel like you're doing all that you're capable of? Do you feel like you're moving as fast as you could be? You might say no, because that's actually more acceptable for us. We all have a bit of an ego. Anyone else or just me? So none of us want to say we're not where we're at, but if we could say that we could go faster, that's another way of getting someone who's successful to admit that they have a problem without triggering their ego, which is really, really helpful, because if they don't have a gap, they're not going to buy. Now let's come back to those principles really quick. Are you guys with me on this? Is it boring you to death, or are we with it? Say aye. Cool. All right. Asking questions is the one who's in control is the one who's asking questions. Now, I was reviewing a sales call the other day for one of my reps, and there's a bit of a nuance on this, which is like you could be asking questions and still be out of control. Which it finally hit me. You could be asking questions and still be out of control. Why is that? If you're asking questions about irrelevant shit, you're out of control. If you're asking questions about relevant shit, you're in control. So what that could look like specifically, a prospect gives a tangent, and then you ask, what do you mean by that? Or tell me more about that. But about something that does not drive the sale, you've lost the frame and you've lost control. So yes, it's one to be asking questions. That means you're in control if it's in relevance. You guys with me? Cool. Second thing, if you guys are reviewing your own calls or watching your team's calls, assume but verify. When I worked with Jeremy Miner at 7th Level, he always talked about like assume nothing, which I thought was cool, but I wanted to build on top of that, which is assume but verify, because we all are meaning-making machines. We all make assumptions. We all have lenses. We all have paradigms. Like we're constantly making meaning of everything that we see. It would be a lie to say that we don't. But what happens on sales calls is if you assume things and then you don't test them, you're going to actually create disconnection in the conversation. Like if I made an assumption about Patrick, let's see, like what would be an assumption, you know? What are some assumptions maybe you catch yourself making on calls with people?
I'm aware of the assumptions, right? It's the assumptions are this person doesn't have the money, this person can't invest, or
Perfect.
those are the big ones.
Super common, right? We assume their financial capability, willingness, desire, resourcefulness. For me, it's like, okay, I can assume, but then I need to verify. What does that look like? I actually ask follow-up questions to clarify and see. And you guys would be surprised. There are certain people, even if their lead score sucks or even if things are low, that they get resourceful or they have a friend or another way. I've always been the kind of person who assumes but verifies. I've lived by that, and it's helped me stay curious on my calls and make a lot of money. And the last piece is detachment. Because like if you chase a dog, what happens? But if I run the other way, he does what? He chases me, motherfucker, right? So we flipped the power dynamic, and I want to show an example of this actually from the insiders community that I did with one of our students. This is Jacob Brico. He came onto a call with me, and he was like, Mason, I've had this deal on the line for 3 months. They won't close. What do I do? Do I send another follow-up? And I said, no, you run the other direction. When you zig, they zag. So instead of pushing harder, and I'll show you guys the email that I gave him and helped him write out, and this detachment that he showed energetically made him more attractive and made him more receptive rather than being in that push energy. And what that led to was a deal that had been on the line for 3 months closing in 3 hours. So, hey, Mary, thanks for the update. I completely understand how hectic it can get, yada, yada, yada. We've invested over 3 months. I hate for that effort to go to waste. In order to allocate my agency's capacity appropriately, let's take a look at that. Russell Brunson talks about, what were those two principles, urgency and scarcity? We injected it into the email right there. I need this finalized by Friday. If not, takeaway. This is a boundary. This is what I'm gonna do. It's not emotion, it's just objective, and that willingness to walk away, that was the result 2 hours later. Sent and signed, and let me scroll down a little. 6,500 paid in full for him on a 20K project. So if you guys aren't using that on your takeaways, that's one little nugget that you guys can use that I do not see people use enough in email follow-up and text follow-up, is actually zigging when everyone else is just pushing harder. Is that helpful, guys? Yes. So that's in my school community. I actually documented the whole process. That takeaway close is something I've used. When I sold for Andrew last year, you remember Mackenzie? Yeah. She was the most squirrely prospect that I closed out of anyone with you, and I did the same exact thing. I said, Mackenzie, when you communicate with me this way, it makes me feel uncertain and unclear, and it sets the precedence for our entire communication moving forward. You've told me that you're going to follow through, and you haven't, so here's how it's going to go. I laid the line, and then she goes, wire sent. Why does that work, guys? It's because it shows people that we hold a higher standard and that we're not willing to tolerate that, and they either they step into our world or they get completely repelled out of it. But more often than not, if they have the means and the willingness, they're going to step right into your world. So let's go into the 3 skills. Go ahead, Enrique.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, real estate is a little bit different. For example, one of the things that they always tell me not to say or to say is never to say that I'm too busy for my clients. Sometimes it's like I actually
Who tells you to say that?
That's actually was a recommendation to my broker.
Your broker.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been in sales all his life, obviously older method, but he said, for example, I get too busy with a lot of stuff, and I'm actually in a good position right now, so I am actually very busy all the time. I'm happy about that. But he say, like, when you have a conversation with somebody, never say you're too busy, rather say I've been too active. Is it good or not? Because in the principle that you're saying,
Yeah.
the key takeaway is like, hey, I don't want people to think I'm too busy not to pay attention to them because I obviously want to work with them. But I also want to say, okay, I don't need your business if you don't want to do business with me.
So how to communicate that? Is that what you're asking, or what's the question? Okay. So I know Dylan yesterday, he did a really good takeaway close that he talked about when he was selling those flying squirrels. The nuance of that language between active or busy, I don't think it's a needle mover. Like someone who's buying, they're not thinking about that little nuance, but the way that you carry yourself, if you imply, hey, I'm really busy, like, is this something that you're serious about when it comes to getting a home? That would work really well. It's just asking a simple question, like, when are you looking? Or is this something you're actually active to now? I do have some availability currently, but just curious, where are you at in your process so that they can qualify to you rather than you chase them? Yeah, and that shows that your status is, instead of here, like all the other real estate agents that are chasing and pushing and following up and needy, it's the same thing that Dylan talked about. In that convention center, everyone was chasing, and he was pushing them away so they would come to him. It's basically doing exactly opposite of what everyone does. That's why we talk about old way and the new way. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Any other questions, guys, before we kind of go over some of these skills real quick? Cool. Let's run it. So skill number 1 is active listening. I always say listen like your life depends on it, because the quality of your listening leads to the quality of your questions, which leads to the quality of your communication. What does that actually mean to actively listen? It's relevant questions, it's verbal and physical cues, and summarization, which is like so simple, but most of us miss it because we're thinking about what to say next or what to do next. And what I'm usually listening for in a sales conversation is beliefs, paradigms, worldviews. So we've talked a lot about beliefs during this weekend. When I'm listening for what beliefs are they holding so that I can actually shift them. And the second skill is the skill that kind of gives us the foundation to be able to shift beliefs, which is skilled questions. We won't go over all these right now, but I want to go over 1 and 3. Who knows what reversing is? Has anyone heard of reversing on a sales call? It's the concept that we talked about where I said, hey, why should I go with you? Who has a sales team here? Okay, cool. So this is a drill I want you guys to do with your sales team. is actually ask them the dumb questions that they get from their prospects every single day and see what they do, and then teach them to reverse it. So with my team, common questions they might get are, how many modules are in the program? Or how long is it? Does it have group coaching? Does it have one-to-one coaching? Is there a guarantee? Any of these questions, guys, are surface level, and what I teach people to do is to say, that's a really interesting question. Do you want to role play this really quick? So you can ask me the dumb question. Like, not dumb, but like, you know, it's not, it doesn't actually matter.
How long's the program?
Yeah, no, it's a solid question. I'm just curious, like, I'll clarify that, but why do you ask? Just to see if I can help.
I just want to know because I'm trying to get my schedule together and see if I can actually do it.
Okay, and so is it actually about the length of the program, or are you more so concerned about how much time you need to put on a weekly basis right now? Like, what's most important for you?
I think it's the timing and the time commitment.
Okay, so like, what do you feel like you could commit on a weekly basis right now so that you could hit that 20K per month?
Probably 2 hours.
2 hours? Okay. If I were to tell you that it would take an hour and a half, would that scare you away then?
No, I think that'd be good.
Okay, cool. Done. So I never actually answered the original question, but the whole time, one who's asking questions is the one who's in control. Does that make sense, guys?
You said, would that scare you away? Was that
No base question, yeah. And it was a hypothetical. If I told you X, would you? So I put it out as a hypothetical because it's less dangerous than just like saying, if I just make a statement, which is, hey, it's going to take 5 hours a week, he can judge that statement. But if I ask it as a question, I'm still in control.
Can you slow that one down?
Yeah, 100. I know a lot. Just let's slow it down. So, first thing he asked was like, how many? What was the question again?
Just how long is the program?
How long is the program? Or does it have a guarantee? Or they usually ask all these questions. I'll be like, yeah, great question. Why do you ask? Just to see if I can help. By default, that's always been my response. I'm going to ask follow-up questions to that. And then the hypothetical was, and we'll move on from this because it's a bit in depth, but the hypothetical was, if I were to tell you blank, would that scare you away? If I were to tell you it's going to take 4 hours so you can actually lose 50 pounds and be jacked, would that scare you off? Because it scares some people off. They go, no? Okay, great. It's going to take 5 hours a week. You in? Rather than just saying, oh, yep, well, it's 4 hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these things, like the nuance of it, is in the community. If you guys are curious to learn more or you have sales teams, I don't expect you guys to learn it all right now, but that one skill of reversing is the bane of my existence, and that's the reason I brought it up, is because average sales reps all day, every day are answering your leads questions that you've paid a ton of time and energy into, and they're just killing deals left and right because they just answer questions. And they think they're being helpful, but really they're destroying all of the effort that you guys put into marketing. Make sense? Cool. So if you have a team, please, for the love of God, role play reversing, unless you like losing deals. The other piece is interjection and redirection. The two skills that I see that are messed up is the 1 and the 3 for most sales teams, is that most people can't reverse and most people can't interject or redirect. So what I see is calls going way too long, an hour and a half, 2 hours, prospects rambling. So the two things that I suggest you guys role play or do either with your teams or with yourself is the reversing skill and interjection. Who here feels comfortable interjecting people in a sales conversation? Who here resists interjecting or feels awkward about interjecting people? Nice. When you think about interjection, what comes up for you?
A lot of times I'm like asking them their story, and so to me it's part of just like understanding them better. So I want to make sure that I'm getting all the necessary information for me to respond.
Their personal story?
Potentially just any information that they're, sharing, just kind of so it's like they're talking and I'm like, okay, that's relevant, that's not relevant. Okay, I'm like just trying to get as much information as I can in my questioning.
Okay. What do you associate interjection with when you think about that? What comes up for you?
Well, I guess I've heard a lot of times like, oh, you want them to be talking more than you talking.
Agreed.
So I think about that aspect.
Just
of
shut up.
Yeah, just
Ask question and shut up.
letting them, even a recent scenario, one guy like complimented me on it because I just sat there and like 100% listened to his story. He's like, oh my God, he didn't even try to sell me anything. He ended up buying and was like so happy about that call.
Mm-hmm.
And all I did was just listen and hear his story.
Yeah. I think that makes sense as a founder. Once you have salespeople, it might be a little different.
Okay.
where you're at right now. I think that makes a lot of sense because they're just going to feel really heard and you have a ton of authority. Once you have salespeople, if they sit there, they're just going to get mowed down. So it'll be a slightly different experience for them because I've been on that seat.
Okay.
So it can work for you, and it doesn't have to be a intense interjection, but when we hear things go off, I want to be able to interject. What that could look like is, well, hold on, you mentioned something really interesting there. Is it cool if we dive into that? Sometimes I'll apologize. So interjection, would you guys consider that a high status behavior or a low status behavior to interject somebody?
High status.
Right, so one of the ways I offset that is by using a low status behavior while I do a high status behavior, which is I apologize and I interject at the same time. Apology, low status, interjection, high status, they balance each other out. So I'd be like, I do apologize, brother. You mentioned something really good there. Is it cool if we look into it? So I defer down on purpose so I can sneak in and punch in, interject, and take back control of the conversation. And you best believe the follow-up question that comes after that is relevant and precise and going towards a problem, a pain point, or desire, but not the story. So sometimes people do, who gets ramblers on their calls that talk about their stories all day? Want to tell you about the freaking, their dogs, the weather. So I'm like, I had to learn how to interject because I was taking 8 calls a day, 5 days a week. And if I didn't do that, I was going to die. Flat out. And what that could look like oftentimes is just validating them because they just need a star, like a gold star, and then you can move on to the next section. It's like, wow, I really love what you said there. That sounds incredible. And I'd love to ask you about that. Is it cool if we dive into this area? Permission. I've just boxed that off and I'm moving the fuck on because if I stay in it, they're just going to keep me going down a path that doesn't actually serve them. You guys with me on that?
Yeah.
Cool. So my recommendation for practicing interjection, please don't practice it on sales calls first. Please, for the love of God, don't just go test this skill. Be like, I'm going to start interjecting today. I've never actually used this, but you're going to piss someone off. You're going to get complaints. So role play it, practice it maybe with a friend or a spouse first and get natural at it. And if you guys want to learn more, it's all for free in my community as well. Cool beans? Quick student story. This is Gore. Gore. Dude, tell us a little bit, because we work together on sales. He's a dating coach, and he made some massive leaps and bounds when we were working together. What did you learn? What shifted for you?
A lot shifted. It was a whole world change in terms of how I was doing things and how to do things now. A lot of what you just talked about. And the way I would summarize it is frame. Because I went from just trying to introduce the idea of my offer to asking them if they're open to it, so permission-based selling at different points in the conversation, not just in the beginning, to get them on a call, have a conversation. And then the other major shift was to kind of add on to that frame is like, why do you even want to work together? Because they agreed to the permission of working together, and now you can ask them why they want to work with you. Whereas like before, you're just proving yourself and trying to get them to be interested. So
Yeah.
that allowed me to really, one, understand their issues better, speak from their perspective, stop coaching as much on those calls, and seek to just understand and help. And then the other side was using their words and planning out what they want into the offer. So kind of tell them what they want and give them what they need.
Yep.
Aspect.
Yeah.
So a couple key points shifted in the conversation for me that led to pretty consistent like paying money.
Congrats on that, man. Give a round of applause for Gore. Yeah, the thing that stood out for me there was asking, like, it's the same frame that we had in the beginning of the Sell Me This Pen. He was asking them why do you want to work with me? Like, somewhat skeptical in a way, rather than you should work with me because. Anytime I hear the words I think or you should from a sales rep, I want to vomit a little bit because I know that what follows is them pitching rather than getting the prospect to pitch themselves. So the final skill is belief shifting. And the definition of a belief is a mental acceptance that something is true. I went really deep on this year and was like, we all talk about beliefs at these personal development events, and I'm kind of a nerd. I love definitions. So it's a mental acceptance that something is true, often without proof. and it's a lens through which we interpret, experience, and make decisions. So if you guys want to take a photo of that, you can. A belief is a mental acceptance that something is true, often without proof, and it's the lens through which we interpret experiences and make decisions. So if we know that this is how someone's going to interpret the experience of your communication and make decisions, you guys think it's important that we learn about it? Yeah. So let's dive into what is the structure of a belief. The structure of a belief is three things. It's if, then, means. So let's say if, then, means. Let's say it one more time. If, then, means. And this structure, I used to be an engineer, so I love structure, I love formulas, and when this clicked for me, I realized that I could pick apart people's beliefs like a freaking math equation and just do brain surgery on calls. And what it comes down to is destruction and creation of beliefs. So let's just talk about the definition though first. An example of a belief could be, if I invest in this program, 10K, then it means I have less money, which then means I'm going to be in risk and in a terrible place. Or it could be, if I invest this, then it means I have less money, but it means I'm going to expand financially and actually grow. And so our meanings and our associations and our interpretations are literally going to dictate whether we take action or not. And so that active listening, when I'm in sales calls, I'm listening for hidden beliefs. Oftentimes people have beliefs because maybe who has people who are skeptical or maybe bought in the past and are worried about, oh, what if I buy with you and it doesn't work? No one has skeptical buyers? Okay. So their belief is, if I invest again, then it means that I'm going to get screwed over. So I'm using analogies ahead of time, or basically talking to them about things to shift that belief. An example could be dating. It's like, hey, did you ever date anyone in the past? And because you had that date, did you give up on love? Why didn't you give up on love, man? Because you coulda. It's scary out there. And I get them to walk me through that. I'm like, so why are you even considering a solution again? Because there's risk in this, man. So rather than waiting for them to say it, I just get ahead of it because I see the beliefs, I hear the beliefs, and I want to beat them to the punch. You guys with me on that? Now, I know that's advanced to try to implement and integrate, but if you guys get in the community for free, it's all in there, and you can actually learn it. Now, the first piece of beliefs is like, can you even uncover a belief system? So using that if then means, I'm really just listening for what worldviews, what preconceptions they have. And the second thing is, once I hear one, I'm going to want to call it out and essentially challenge it. So what are some beliefs that maybe you have on sales calls that you think slow you down?
Me personally, or
your prospects?
their belief is that for consulting that they are too far behind to catch up.
They're too far behind. Nice. That's a good one. We can work on that. Who else has some beliefs from their prospects that are limiting beliefs that they could think of? They're too far behind, so that means that they can't even start.
Yeah, they're paralyzed.
They're paralyzed. That's a great one we can look at. Any others that come to mind? Beliefs from your prospects? Shoot.
Like, sometimes when I share some of my all-star clients, they'll be like, oh yeah, but that person was special. Why would it apply to me? How would that person just had an extra edge?
They're different than me.
Yeah, yeah.
And that means
And that means it might not work for them.
that it's not relevant. I don't belong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's look at Sammy's for a second. So you say the belief one more time.
That they're too far behind in technology to catch up.
And so that means they can't take action, and that means they're just going to stay stuck.
Or they'll hire a team to come in and do what we were going to teach them.
So that instead of having someone come in and teach them, they'd rather just have it hired out.
Done for them, yeah.
Okay. And do you believe that's actually the best route for them sometimes? Because maybe it is.
No,
Why not?
because if you don't learn this skill, then it won't matter who you bring in.
Because
Because then you're just wasting money and you're not learning to fish.
Perfect.
You're beholden to whoever you hire.
Perfect. So this is good belief shifting fuel in real time right now. So you guys hear the analogy that he just dropped? Anyone? What analogy was that? Feed a man a fish versus teach him how to fish. That's belief shifting in real time. So that's your analogy. So when you're on those calls, like, hey, and you could go that path. You ever heard about feed a man a fish versus teach a man to fish? you inject that idea and you go, which one do you actually want to be? Do you want to be the one who relies on others, or you guys want to be the one who has it on your own? When they say they want to have it on their own, you ask why. Now they've just bought into a new frame, a new perspective, which is a new what? A new belief. Is that helpful, guys? So analogies are one of the quickest ways that I see to install and create new beliefs, simply because they're a reference point that someone already has an understanding around, and they don't have to relearn it. It's like a predetermined, it's a past agreement that they can base their decision off of. And if we can inject that, we can usually shift it. So my homework for you guys would be to figure out one analogy. And if you guys want help with it from me, hit me up. If there's a common objection you have, we can work on a single analogy or reframe to help you guys get through that. Does that sound good? Cool. I'm going to skip this one because I don't feel like it's as relevant. The second gift I'm going to give you guys, I do have an objection handling Miro board. We were talking about the spider web. I've actually built out an entire flowchart of the most common objections you guys are going to get. Let me zoom out a little. Yeah, the whole flowchart for objections is over here, from think about it, money, logistics, partner, and I'm constantly updating this thing so you guys will have it in real time. And then if you guys want to slap that into AI and into your copywriting or for your sales teams, feel free to leverage this, but you guys can have that asset as well. I don't actually give that away for free. I only give that away to like paid clients, so I'll give that to you guys as well. Cool beans. Now I want to give a shout out that this has been really fun to implement with Jay. So when we brought this into Jay's, can you guys see the numbers on that, or is that kind of hard to see? All right, I'll just read it off. It's fine. So Jay, when did we start working together? June? I think it was around June. 6 months? Yeah, when I came in, and this is shout out to Ian. This is every single month since we've been working together pretty much. He's been month over month growth, so shout out to Ian. Literally growing every single month as a rep is unheard of. The really cool thing to see was that when these got implemented, not just like the revenue in terms of total, but what I was looking at was revenue per call, because that's all I actually care about as a sales director, is how much money per call. His tripled. He went from like 400 to 1,300 last month, revenue per call during that time as well. So his efficiency went through the roof as well. So implement and see what happens, right? Why does all this work? I kind of had to reflect on, we got some sports back there, sweet. Clayton? Damn it, Clayton. You scrolling reels, bro. Why does this work? I was meditating this morning and I was contemplating whether or not to put this slide. And I was like, no, I got to keep it. It's cheesy, but I love it, which is flow, not force. So Jeremy taught me the skills of sales, but the philosophy for me through experience was effortless action and presence and flow. So once you guys can actually get into that state, and like, anyone heard of Wu Wei before, like Taoism? It's essentially effortless action. And that's how I describe good sales. It should feel effortless. And if it feels like an uphill battle, that means you're doing something wrong. That's your check engine light to go back and actually get better at asking questions. So a couple other student wins. It's not showing right here, but the cool thing is now we have this beautiful website from Jay where we can actually see it because I built it in 3 minutes. Show me the site. I'll pull it up in a second. But I'm really grateful to this skill because it's basically helped most of my friends hit multiple 6 figures per year. And that's life-changing for them, not just for their own income, but for their families. Like my best friend Andres last year, I got to see him take his whole family out to Colombia. And he comes from an immigrant family who did not have that kind of money and did not have those kind of experiences. He's paying for their flights, taking them out there, and giving his cousins these experiences that they would never have had ever. So I encourage you guys to lean into sales because all of us sell, and I believe it could help you in a really, really big way. While that's loading, I'm curious what questions you guys have on sales.
I was going to ask you independently, but maybe it'll be helpful for other people.
Please.
Right now, I'm at a point where I, want to increase my prices like tomorrow.
Today?
Today, yeah. But also having people that are on the pipeline that are like, I've given the old price. So in the context of one, either reaching out to them and saying, hey, my prices are about to go up, and creating that urgency, or is it, oh, now I'm chasing again instead of...
No, you should definitely send that.
So then what's the verbiage
Ask Claude. Ask Claude. Hey, I'm doing this email. I would literally ask Claude. I know it's silly, but I would. and then send it to me.
But it's not trained. Like I haven't trained.
Even V1 would be killer. We've done it for our price increases. But it's like, hey, I just want to let you know we've chatted in the past, and that you were interested. I'm not sure where you're at right now. However, I do want to let you know we are increasing the prices. If you're interested, reply yes, and I'll send you details or book a call. It could be that simple. But I would send out the blast to every single person that you've talked with. Because when you genuinely are doing a price increase, you're always going to get a few sales from that poll. People who are on the fence are going to come out of the woodworks. It works every single time.
Yeah, I have not done that in the past, and so.
And since you haven't done it, you have a fresh, fertile ground. If you're doing that all the time or it's common, it won't land, but it'll for sure convert. So happy to look at that.
Do you do like a mass blast? Like if I were to go through my CRM and just
Yeah, I would do literally pretty much every single lead in there personally.
Oh, just
Every
my
single
whole
person.
list.
Yeah, well, anyone who hasn't bought. Just filter out buyers.
Okay, so literally anyone who hasn't bought anything. So just my whole list.
And they've had a sales call with you. You can decide if
but
you.
they've had a sales call. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, as long as they've had a sales call, like did not buy, had a sales call, those two criteria.
Or at least even booked a sales call, maybe even.
Even booked, yeah. By the way, we're increasing prices, so if you guys are ever considering it, this would be the time to come book a call and check it out. I bought programs off that for sure. I was like, damn, I've been procrastinating, I'm down.
Now, do I have them go, like, you know, rates checkout here? Buy this package.
Sales call.
$12,000. Okay.
Nah, sales call. That would be ballsy. Cool, guys. Was this helpful today? Enrique.
I have a question. So, what would you consider are the main steps to follow during a cold call conversation? Like, first time you're either calling somebody or a follow-up conversation with somebody you already know for a client conversion. So, you say hi, introduce yourself, you ask, build rapport, and then start going to where you want to go. How do you lead that conversation step by step?
Well, let's look at the follow-up. So you have people who are in your pipeline that want real estate. They've expressed interest already. Before that call, I'm thinking about what you did before that call to get permission to be able to follow up and make that relationship known. So in your previous calls, before we even get to that follow-up call, hey, as I have new properties that come on the market, are you cool if I reach out to you to let you know about updates in the Cabo market and what's going on? Get permission so that we already had that agreement and you don't ever have to feel weird about calling them again. So if you're not doing that, I would start doing that ASAP. It's really easy, and that simple yes then makes it not weird, and you're allowed to, they've given you consent for you to continue to call them basically forever until they tell you to fuck off, right? But they probably won't because you got permission. That alone would make a huge difference. Are you getting resistance from people when you call them back, or are they open?
Open.
Cool. What would be an ideal outcome for you on those calls?
Well, I mean, if it's like a stale lead, somebody I've been working for a couple of years, they're just not ready to buy, it would be like, okay, well, when are you ready to buy now?
Getting,
But that also depends on the.
if we ask that question, it might trigger resistance, right? So it's understanding what was the definition of a problem that we went into earlier? An area of dissatisfaction or an area that's not up to standard. So I'd want to check in on what kind of home they're in now, how's it going, what do they like about it? I'll let them talk about everything that's going well, because once somebody dumps out everything that's positive, what can follow is the negative. But we all have egos and we don't like to talk about, like the vulnerability exercise, none of us want to talk about what sucks in our life. But if we can talk about how cool we are first, we're more likely to open up after that. So I would actually lean into the positive with them. What's going well? What do you like about the property? Man, anything you'd change about it? Or anything you're looking for if you could improve it? Oh, well, I'd like to X. That's a pain point. Once you can find that, now you have urgency. Go ahead, Ari.
Jumping over to the same field as Enrique. Cabo Real Estate is a want-based product more than a necessity-based product. It's like buying a Rolex, it's like buying something that's not necessarily something that you need.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you flip that when you're not looking for pain points?
Coming back to that, let's go back to that slide for a second. Go ahead.
If you have a pain though,
That's where we have to come back to the definition of a problem.
there's something they're dissatisfied with, right? So
hey, how old are your kids now? Really?
They can do, the thing is they can,
Like it's those pain points, right? It's like, it's still pain. Yeah, it's still pain. It's just not.
it's a different kind of pain.
It's
So
not
there's,
pain. People that have money have lots of pain.
they might feel empty, they might feel hollow, it might be status. So you have to look into different human needs because there's like two analogies. There's the burning building and then there's the ice cream truck. So a lot of people have burning building pains, which is like their life is on fire. They're uncomfortable, things suck, and they're running out of a burning building to try to survive. Is a real estate audience who's considering Cabo in a burning building? No, they're balling. So instead for them, it's about what is their ice cream truck? What are do they want to have a certain status? Is there a certain memory they want to create?
And there are things there.
And they're not being that person. It's an identity. Who do they want to be? Who do they become when they own that property compared to who they are right now? So the gap is about who they feel they are and who they perceive they are. So you're playing into status and significance rather than playing into like, oh, my life is burning away. So I would just reflect on that. Cool, we'll do one more question, then we can wrap it up for lunch. Oh no, sorry, not lunch. Go ahead.
Where was the Miro?
I'm gonna send all the links as a follow-up right after this in the group chat, so you guys will have everything. Sweet guys, appreciate y'all, that was fun. Thanks for joining the entire talk. I'm glad you made it to the end. If you enjoyed those sales skills and you want to crush it as a remote high-ticket closer, as a founder, as an agency owner, you want to close more deals, those skills, those mental models, those principles that I taught in the talk, they're all for free in Remote Sales Secrets. So click the link below and we'll see you on the other side.